Experiment that, honestly, it sounds super simple on the surface. But trust me, by the end of this, you might be questioning, well, everything. You ready? Let's get into it.
So let me just start by asking you this simple question. When does one thing actually become another? I mean, it seems obvious, right? A caterpillar turns into a butterfly, a little acorn grows into a giant oak tree. But what about things we make? When does a pile of parts stop being one thing and start being something completely new?
To really wrap our heads around this, we're going to use a simple object as our case study. So let's meet our protagonist. Our starting point, we'll call it Cycle A.
Okay, so get a clear picture of this in your head. This is Cycle A. It is one complete, totally original bike. Every single part, from the big frame down to the tiniest screw, it all belongs to this bike. It even has its own unique serial number stamped right on it. There's absolutely no debate. This is Cycle A.
All right, now here's where the fun begins. Imagine we start a little project. We're going to start changing Cycle A, but really, really slowly. Not all at once, just one single piece at a time.
Let's start with the big stuff, right? First, we take off the original frame and put on a brand new one. So is it still Cycle A? I think most of us would say, yeah, of course. It just has a new frame. Okay, then we swap out both wheels. Still Cycle A? Probably. Then the handlebars. Yeah, it still feels like the same bike, doesn't it?
Okay, now let's speed this up a little. After the handlebars, off comes the old seat, on goes a new one.
Then that old, greasy chain gets tossed for a shiny new one.
And then we even rip out the old brake system and install a completely different set.
And this just keeps going, the pedals, the gears, every single spoke, every last nut and bolt, until eventually absolutely nothing from the original Cycle A is left. Every single component is now a replacement.
So after all that work, we take a step back. And look, what are we actually left with? We have a perfectly good bicycle sitting there in front of us. But its story, its history, well, it's gotten a little complicated.
And here's the kicker, the final step. To erase any last shred of doubt, we actually grind off that original serial number and stamp a brand new one onto the new frame. The last unique identifier of Cycle A is gone.
So just let that sink in for a second. There are now zilch, no original parts left from that bike we started with. Not one single physical piece is the same.
And that brings us to the million-dollar question. This bike in front of you, what is it? Is it still Cycle A, just, heavily repaired? Or because every single part is brand new, has it become a totally different object? Has it become Cycle B?
Now, if you're struggling to come up with an easy answer, good, you're not alone. This is exactly where the real thought experiment kicks in, because whichever answer you pick, it creates a whole new problem.
Let's just walk through this. On the one hand, if you say, yep, that's Cycle B now, then I have to ask you, when did it become Cycle B? Was it when we replaced the first part, the frame, or when we hit the halfway mark? Or was it with the very last screw? There's just no logical place to draw the line. But okay, on the other hand, if you argue, nope, it's still Cycle A, then how? How can it be? As we just established, not a single physical piece of the original bike is even there anymore.
And this right here is the beautiful, frustrating core of the paradox. We started with something so simple, so mechanical, just swapping out bike parts. But that simple process has backed us into a logical corner. It just goes to show you how a really simple question, what is this, can have an unbelievably complicated answer.
And this, of course, brings us to the biggest question of all. See, this puzzle is really just a modern take on a very old philosophical problem called the Ship of Theseus. And it's not really about ships or bikes. It applies to businesses that change all their people, or countries whose borders and population shift over time. It even applies to us. Our bodies replace nearly all of their cells every decade or so. So, what is identity, really? Is it just the sum of our physical parts? Is it a pattern that continues over time? Or is it something else entirely? What do you think?